At this stage, it was already difficult to pretend that our neighbors were not quarreling. The sound of their screams came through the walls. "Have they started again?" my wife Rachel asked me. "They've been arguing for an hour. You can actually hear them from here. Here, listen." "If you kept your mister in your pants, we wouldn't be fighting," Stella shouted at Richard. "Stop playing this on me." Their screams have already become a daily event. It's hard to believe how things have changed. The day we moved into this apartment, a little over a year ago, there was a knock on the door. An elderly man and woman stood on the threshold with warm smiles and a saucepan in their hands. "Hello, neighbors. We thought you might need a home-cooked meal since you probably haven't unpacked all your things yet," Stella told us then. We invited them to share this dinner with us, and from that day we became inseparable. They were both 15 years older than us and took us under their wing. They showed us where they shopped, got us memberships to their country club, took us to jazz nights at their favorite clubs. They introduced us to their collection of vintage wines, shared recipes, and taught us how to make cocktails. Most evenings we had dinner together. They told us stories about what the city looked like when they first moved here and what dating was like before dating apps. Neither they nor we had children, and we all lived far from our families. So over this year, we have created a family of our own. Richard, Stella, Rachel, and Josh are a family by choice. That's why when Richard and Stella started fighting, we thought it would be the end of our lives as we knew it. What if they get divorced? What if they both move? In the first months, they seemed like the perfect match, something Rachel and I could aspire to. They were high school sweethearts who ran away together, more friends than husband and wife. I climbed into her bedroom window, and she was already ready. Her suitcases were packed. Her father was running after my car with a gun. Richard told us one day over many glasses of wine. His bright brown eyes always sparkled when he talked about his wife. "That's a lie. My father was an angel," Stella corrected him, ruffling his gray hair. Okay, there was no gun, but he hated me for running off with his only daughter," Richard said, causing laughter in the room. "Just a perfect couple. But of course, such things don't happen. The problem was that Richard was a pathological cheater. A handsome man, 6 feet 2 inches tall, in excellent physical shape, Richard did not suffer from a lack of attention from young, beautiful women. I first noticed this when we went to the beach. A 20-year-old girl with perky breasts and blonde hair suddenly became curious about where Richard bought his sunglasses. She seemed to have just turned 21 years old. "What's your name, honey?" Richard asked her. "Me? My name is Ashley." She answered with a jump that made her breasts in the green bikini bounce. I thought this girl was pretty attractive, but I wasn't going to flirt with her in front of my wife. But Richard had no such doubts. After 3 glasses of beer in the sun, he allowed himself to relax. "Well, Ashley, do you want to try them on?" he asked her. "Certainly." He took off his sunglasses and stood in front of her. "Let's see." He placed the glasses on her face, brushed her blonde hair out of her face, and stepped back. As he examined her, he placed his hands on her waist. "Those glasses look better on you than they ever did on me." What surprised me most about Richard's wandering gaze was that he was married to an incredibly beautiful woman. Stella was a tall woman with dark brown hair and dark eyes. She wasn't as big of a workout fan as her husband, but she kept herself in shape. Even in her 40s, she could attract attention. Most of the guys passing by were shamelessly staring at her and Rachel, both of whom were wearing bikinis. Although they were both wearing shirts over their bikinis, Stella's breasts were hard to hide. I looked at Stella's embarrassed face, which seemed to say, "This happens all the time, but I wish he wouldn't do it when we have company." Richard started to annoy me. This girl may have been attractive, but Rachel and I loved Stella, and there was no way in hell I was going to let him embarrass her in front of us. Richard, it looks like the sun is setting. Maybe it's time for us to head back." "What? Oh, yes, that's right. Sorry, honey, but I have to go. Keep these glasses." "Bye, handsome," she told him. "That's a bitch." But the matter did not end there. Richard flirted with waitresses at the jazz club, with women at the gym we both went to, and with any woman who paid attention to him. Over time, the tension began to take its toll. Richard and Stella started arguing at the dinner table. They yelled at each other all day long, and worst of all, they stopped coming to social events. We still ate dinner together as a foursome, but we started going to events separately. Stella took us to museums and art exhibitions, Richard took us to jazz clubs, and we stopped going to the beach altogether. Too many 21-year-olds with perky breasts. It mostly worked until one evening when an art exhibition and a jazz festival at a local jazz club coincided. We didn't want to disappoint either of them, so we decided to split up for the evening. Rachel, who of the two of us was into music, went with Richard and I went with Stella. This was a serious conflict for me. I loved him too. He became such an important part of Rachel and I's lives, but we saw that Stella was suffering and did not say anything. Rachel also began to notice strange things. I wonder how many affairs he has. She told me the next evening as we were getting ready for dinner with the couple. I'm sure he has sex wherever he can. I feel like, wow. I trailed off because I had just seen Rachel when she walked into the living room. She was wearing a black dress with a deep neckline. The hem of the dress was just above the knees. Her curly black hair cascaded down her cleavage. Rachel's breasts weren't as big as Stella's, but they were a delicious pair of size 3s. And boy, did they seem to defy gravity. God, I'm lucky with my wife. Interesting choice of dress for tonight, considering Richard will be out hunting again, I joked. Very funny, she lightly hit my hand, but at the same time blushed a little. I'm just kidding, honey. I don't think he'll allow himself anything extra. You're like family to him. Yeah, I guess. What's that expression? What expression? There's an expression on your face. She bit her lip. She could never lie to me. Okay, that was the expression. Something happened at the jazz club yesterday, but you shouldn't be mad. Ratch, you're scaring me. Is everything okay? So, well, things got a little flirty between me and Richard yesterday. It was as if the ground had disappeared from under my feet. What? Nothing special happened, just a little flirting. Rachel told me that Richard started flirting with the waitress after his first drink. Jenny, the waitress, was a cute girl with a small waist and large breasts. The jazz club staff wore short skirts that looked great on her butt. I didn't blame Richard for paying attention to her. She must have been our age, and Richard always tipped her generously, so she was willing to flirt back. I think he was encouraged by Stella's absence. At one point, I thought he would actually leave me and go with her. I wouldn't be surprised if he did that. That's why I had to intervene. What did you do, Rachel? Well, not much at first. I started flirting with him a little. Rachel, are you crazy? I said, but trying to speak quietly. It was harmless, and it certainly took his attention away from that waitress bitch. Did I notice a hint of jealousy in her voice? What did you do? I mean, how did you flirt? Nothing complicated. Asked if he lifted heavier weights, asked if I could touch his biceps, said he was very funny. Men are easy, she said, half laughing. This couldn't be difficult for her, because Richard really has huge biceps. In his youth, he was a model. Even now, he had a magnificent figure. He was a triathlete and spent a lot of time in the gym. On our beach outings, I often noticed Rachel's sneaking glances at him when he took off his shirt. Rachel continued, I laughed at his jokes more loudly than I should have. I touched his arm, leaning over to laugh. I'm sure he was looking at my cleavage. I'm sure he looked. I remember what she was wearing that evening. Her green corset emphasized her perfect breasts. She wore it with skinny jeans that showed off her slender hips and silver high heels. She was dressed with the intention of attracting attention. If she flirted with Richard, he had no chance of resisting. Of course, his secretary was pretty. Of course, he received attention from Jenny, the waitress. But none of these women could compare to Rachel. My wife may have been much younger than Richard, but she was a woman who knew her worth. Rachel was sharp-tongued, insightful, and almost always got her way. And it helped that she had the most amazing breasts I had ever seen. I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel proud every time someone stared at her or her breasts. More than one guy at her law firm asked her out, even though he knew she was married. If she hadn't been one of the youngest partners in the firm's history, she would have been offered even more. These guys were a little afraid of her, so if she wanted to provoke a certain reaction from Richard, she would achieve it. Is that all? Is that all you did? Well, not really. Rachel. We ordered nachos for the table, you know, and I kind of purposely dropped one on top. What happened next? She bit her lip, shifted from one foot to the other, and did not look me in the eyes, as if she was about to confess something obscene. I told him I couldn't find him. Oh, Josh, I'm sorry. Please don't be mad. I was already a little drunk myself by that point. Continue, I said. I knew I should be angry, but this story was getting pretty spicy. I asked him to help me get a chip, and he put his hands under my top and took it out, and Rachel trailed off. Please continue, I said. I was only half angry. The other half of me wanted to know how this story would end. If it weren't for my wife, this story would be incredibly hot. He kind of grabbed his chest. He squeezed it in public. There was a noise in my head. I wasn't sure exactly what I was feeling. Anger? Betrayal? Humiliation? Or maybe excitement? That would explain the excitement in my pants right now. You let him touch you. Just a little. Oh God, honey, I'm the worst wife in the world. I thought I was helping Stella by keeping Richard away from the waitress, but I didn't realize that. Honey, I'm not a cheater. That's not me. I don't know what. What happened then? Finish the deal. What? I want to know how far you went yesterday. Well, that was the worst part, but he couldn't keep his hands off me for the rest of the evening. He sat with his arm around my waist for the rest of the show. Did he try to touch your breasts again? Yes, he tried. His hands were on my stomach when the lights went out in the hall, and more than once he raised his hand to my chest. He squeezed several times through the fabric of my top. Why didn't you stop him? I liked his touch. She burst into tears. I'm sorry, Josh. I'm a terrible wife. I failed you. I failed Stella. She had tears streaming down her face. I approached my wife. Yes, I was angry, but I loved her more. No matter what happened, I couldn't see her like that. I grabbed her chin and lifted her head to look at her. I looked into her blue eyes, which were shining with tears. I brought her face closer to mine and kissed her on the lips. Rachel had full, red lips that parted when my tongue touched them. I still don't know why I reacted that way. Maybe I just needed to reassure her that I still loved her. Or maybe her story about the night with Richard turned me on more than I was willing to admit. I pulled away from her lips. First of all, you will never let me down. You are my wife, and I love you. Second of all, I think you did the right thing. I'm definitely angry. I'm really sorry. And we'll definitely talk about it. But I'm glad Richard didn't take that waitress. That was smart of you. You took one for the team. Now, what else happened last night? She began to calm down. Nothing special. He held my waist as we walked back into the building and pinched my butt a few times. In fact, he grabbed my butt quite a lot. When we got to our apartments, he tried to kiss me, but I quickly hugged him to avoid awkwardness. I was a little disappointed. I think I expected them to at least kiss at the end of the evening. I sat down on our couch and Rachel sat next to me. Honey, I'm so sorry. This will never happen again. I don't know what I was thinking. Like I said, we'll talk about it. But don't worry, we're fine. I know you love me. There's never been a doubt about that. I smiled at her. Okay, I really love you. She seemed to calm down. I love you too, silly. But all the crying has ruined your makeup. Let's continue this conversation later, but for now you should fix your makeup before we go to them." Rachel was fast. 5 minutes later, we were standing at their door with a bottle of wine. Stella met us at the door. Her eyes were puffy, as if she had been crying not long ago. "Hey guys, come in," she said, trying to look cheerful. Rachel avoided eye contact with the older woman. Rachel sat on the sofa, and Stella and I sat in the chairs opposite her. "Welcome, neighbors," Richard announced loudly, entering the living room. "Hello, Richard," we both said at the same time. Richard sat down on the sofa next to Rachel and put his arm around the back of the sofa. "So, let's compare notes. How was your art exhibition?" he asked us. "Fine," said Stella. "Josh seems to have an eye for good art." "Thank you for taking me, Stella. If the museum hadn't closed earlier, I definitely would have stayed a couple more hours." "Did I marry a hot nerd?" Rachel said, smiling. "As someone married to a hot nerd, I can only recommend this," Richard said. If this was an attempt at reconciliation, Stella did not accept it. There was an awkward silence, which I decided to break. "Which picture did you like best, Stella?" We chatted about art for a whole round of drinks before moving on to Richard's famous cocktails. Today, he made a whiskey sour for us. "How was your jazz evening?" Stella asked Rachel and Richard. Yeah, everything was fine. Nothing special to talk about," Rachel answered hesitantly. "Really?" Richard said he had a challenging time. "Oh, sure. The company was very stimulating," he replied innocently, placing his hand on Rachel's bare legs. Rachel used to compete on the university cycling team. She still loved to ride her bike, even years after graduating from college. Her slender, smooth legs did not go unnoticed by Richard. This cocktail is amazing, Richard," she said too loudly, obviously trying to change the topic of conversation. "Thank you. Would you like me to show you how to cook it?" "Certainly." "Okay, I'll separate the whites from the yolks, and you pour the whiskey into a cocktail shaker." Stella raised an eyebrow. She walked up to the table with alcohol and just had time to choose a whiskey when Richard was behind her. "That's right, now pour it into the shaker. Like this." He was standing too close to her. One of his hands was on her waist, and the other lightly pushed her elbow. She gasped. If I were a gambler, I'd bet that was the moment she sensed his arousal. "Oh, for God's sake," Stella said as she stood up. "You two hooked up." "What? Stella, no, it's not like that. We just..." It was strange to see my usually confident wife turn into a stammering woman. "We didn't hook up, but there was some sexual tension between us last night," Richard said, "and maybe I let myself go a little too much." Stella burst into tears. Both Rachel and Richard hurried towards her, but Richard got there first. "Don't do this to me, Richard. Don't give me false hope. Not again." "These are not false hopes, dear. I think this might be what we need." Rachel and I were very confused. We looked at each other, then at the elderly couple. What were they talking about? "What do you mean, false hope?" I asked. They didn't answer for several minutes. Then Stella straightened up and Richard handed her a handkerchief for her tears and snot. "Richard thinks you and Rachel can save our marriage." "How is this?" And then Stella told us about Julia. Richard and Stella were an almost perfect couple from the very beginning. Almost. They shared a sense of humor. They were good at different things and complemented each other. They supported each other through difficult times, losses, and stress. They matched each other in every way except one. Richard had an insatiable sexual appetite, and Stella was no match for him. He wanted to have sex with her every day and as often as possible. She thought it was just the newness of the relationship and that it would pass. But Richard's appetite was insatiable. Stella thought there was something wrong with her. When Richard started cheating on her, she started blaming herself. They didn't want to lose each other, but their sex life did not satisfy him. She honestly didn't care if he found comfort in another woman. She was tormented by the possibility that another woman might take him away, which gave her no peace. He swore that he would never love another woman the way he loved her, But what guarantee did she have? Every young beauty with a perfect ass could take him away. She lived in constant fear that their marriage would end. That was until Julia moved into the next apartment. Julia lived in the apartment that was now our home. When she and Richard started smiling at each other in the hallway, Stella thought she knew where this was going. But one day she noticed that a wedding ring appeared on Julia's finger. They took Julia under their wing, just as they later did with us. They quickly learned that she had a long-distance fiancé who gave her carte blanche while they lived in different cities. His only condition: she had to tell him in detail everything she did with other men while he satisfied himself over the phone. Richard took this as a green light for his actions. It didn't take long before she found herself in his bed. But surprisingly, Stella was not bothered this time. This turned out to be the perfect solution for them. The likelihood that Richard would leave for a woman who was engaged was much lower. This suited Stella too, because a satisfied Richard meant they could go back to being Richard and Stella, the perfect couple. In fact, it improved their own sex lives. Stella had it 3 days a week and Julia the other 4. And this was not considered cheating because her fiancé Nathan enjoyed it. Sometimes she would video call Nathan while Richard had sex with her. Sometimes she would just call him on the phone and put it next to her pillow. Nathan visited her often and Richard was more than happy to let him watch. Nathan planned to move in to be with Julia and said he was willing to allow their relationship to continue. Sounds like a perfect solution. What went wrong? I asked. He hasn't moved, Richard replied. She moved. Nathan got a job in their hometown and Julia moved in with him, Stella said. She ended her relationship with Richard and our perfect life fell apart. No one said a word until I broke the silence again. I still don't understand what you meant when you said we could save your marriage. After last night at the jazz club, I thought Rachel might be interested in a sexual relationship with me. Sorry if I misread any signs, Richard said. You're not wrong, I said, looking at my wife. I've thought for a long time that Rachel finds you attractive. Josh, it's true, isn't it? You said you flirted with him to keep him away from Jenny, the waitress, but I think you did it because you have a little crush on Richard. This is ridiculous. Oh, yeah? She waved her hands in the air as a sign of irritation, but said nothing. I walked up to her and said, Rachel, look at me and tell me the truth. Do you like him? Josh, I'm your wife. Yesterday was just an accident. There was more than just sexual tension, Stella. Your husband groped me in public, and I'm ashamed that I liked it. You can still enjoy it, but within limits, I said. Within? Richard asked in surprise. Yes, there will be certain rules. Stella and I have veto power. If either of us feels uncomfortable, we have the right to stop what is happening. Don't forget that the bond of marriage remains the strongest bond in this room. I agree, Stella added. That's fair, Richard said. This is crazy, Rachel objected. The second rule is no full sex. I know you had a relationship with Julia, but I'm not ready to let you go that far yet. Rachel was the first to speak out. I support this rule. I'm not ready for a full act either. My heart skipped a beat. If I needed reassurance that my wife wanted him, this was confirmation. It's not fair, Richard was indignant. Rachel gave him a sharp look. Either you agree or you don't, mister. No sex until my husband says it. Okay, I agree. My third rule, you allow me to observe sometimes. Rachel blinked, surprised. Are you sure about this? Yes, I always liked it when other men pay attention to you. I never understood this feeling until Stella told us about Julia's fiancé. It suits me. I agree with these rules, Stella said. Yes, that suits me too. But Rachel, how do you feel about this situation? Do you even find me attractive, or did I misunderstand our contact last night? No, you're not wrong. I'm definitely interested in you. She came up to me and took my face in her hands. Rachel kissed me passionately. I love you. You are the man I want to be with for the rest of my life. No one can take your place. But she moved away from me and sat down next to Richard on the sofa. She put her hands on her knees and lowered her eyes, thinking about something. She took a deep breath. But I want him. Richard, I fell in love with you at first sight. I wanted your attention. I hated seeing you flirt with all these fools. God, this stupid girl on the beach just pissed me off. That's for sure, Stella rolled her eyes. Richard smiled. If I knew that you were not indifferent to me, I would not look for entertainment on the side. Okay, then you can have me. But I have my own conditions. If I allow you to do this, you will stop chasing other women. Between me and Stella, you have everything you need, and you don't have to worry about my sexual appetite. I laughed. I can confirm that. That's more than fair, Richard said. He took her hand, and I saw Rachel Finch. He brushed a strand of her black hair out of her face and looked into her blue eyes. Her chest began to rise and fall frequently, anticipating Richard's next move. He approached her and took her face in his hands. Feeling her smooth skin, he gently pulled her towards him. The world seemed to spin when their lips met. Richard was now kissing Rachel. He did it with care and love, slowly. She seemed lost in his embrace, and a soft moan escaped her lips. She moaned. I was horny from the moment I asked Rachel to give him her body. I was glad that Rachel decided not to wear a bra. Her black cocktail dress emphasized her breasts. But Richard wanted more. He pulled down one strap of her dress, then the other. She took off her dress herself, exposing her breasts to him. Then we played sex games all together. No sex. Richard and Stella smiled at each other. What amused you so much? I asked. We just think we can get used to this arrangement, Richard said. We all laughed. For the next hour or so we relaxed and chatted. Rachel and Richard didn't get dressed for the rest of the evening. Stella updated our drinks, and we started discussing the exhibition again. Rachel was lying on the sofa with her head in Richard's lap. He played with her hair. Next week, a new exhibition begins at the museum. It seems they will bring paintings by Andy Warhol, Stella said. Oh, I think I'll join you too, Rachel said. I may not know as much about art as you two are nerds, but even I know Warhol. This will be fun. Sorry, Richard, but you'll have to endure the absence of both of your ladies for the museum trip, I joked. As long as one of them comes home and rewards my patience, I can probably handle being away for a while, he said. I almost forgot. I have something for you. She stood up, still naked, and ran out into the hallway. I looked outside the door to see where she was going. She ran down the hallway to our apartment and went inside. A few seconds later, she was back, clutching something in her hand. She managed to get back to Richard and Stella's apartment before anyone outside could see her. She placed one palm under the other and extended her arms forward. This movement caused her breasts to press together and rise up. Here, take it. She opened her fist, and there was a key in it. What is this? If you are going to share me with my husband, then you will need a spare key to our apartment. Oh, thank you. That's very nice of you. You can come anytime you want, any time of the day. You can demand that I satisfy you when you are aroused and Stella does not want to have sex with you. My body will be yours whenever you want it, but not when I'm with my husband. Understood. He's my first priority, the love of my life. If I have sex with him, I won't leave him for you, unless he himself wants us together. This calms me down very much, said Stella, and you should have our key too. She walked over and handed the spare key to Rachel. If he can use your body, then you can use his body. Of course, when your husband is not free. Stella, thank you for trusting me with your husband. Stella grabbed Rachel's head and kissed her on the lips. We're going to have a lot of fun, baby. I opened the door and Rachel picked up her clothes from the floor. She kissed Richard goodbye and walked naked into the hallway. I opened the door to our apartment, still reeling from the events of the previous night. What a night, huh? But Rachel didn't answer. As soon as we got inside, she pushed me against the wall and kissed me. Rachel and I always kissed every day. They weren't the gentle, slow kisses she'd given Richard. It was the kiss of a woman who wanted to tear my clothes, which is almost exactly what she did. I covered her with a blanket, put a glass of water on her nightstand, and climbed into bed with her. I held Rachel in my arms as we fell asleep, fully aware that our lives would never be the same again after this night. Have you heard about the Coolidge effect? Stella asked me as we walked back to the house from the farmer's market the next morning. I left Rachel dozing in our bed when Stella knocked on the door in the morning. How, Jennifer Coolidge, that actress from that HBO show. Is that all you know about Jennifer Coolidge? Sometimes I forget how young you are. No, I'm not talking about Jennifer Coolidge, Josh. And what does this have to do with what I just told you? I told Stella about my confusion. After last night, I felt a new sexual charge. I couldn't think of anything else other than having sex with Rachel. I was looking forward to returning home so I could make love to her. It's not that I wasn't attracted to her before, but last night something changed in me. Seeing her with Richard, I felt something primal in me. I was just about to explain. You see, the Coolidge effect is a biological phenomenon. Every time an animal sees its partner having sex with another, that animal's sexual energy is renewed. And this applies to people? Yes, I think so. If you see your wife with another man, it triggers something in you. Something fueled by jealousy is possible, or the desire to compete to win it back, she said. Stella continued. For most men, this is triggered when their wives flirt with other women. But you are a more confident man. You don't feel jealous easily. You needed to see your wife pleasure another man. So I want my wife more because I'm jealous of Richard. This is a very rough explanation, but essentially, yes. Maybe part of you wants her back. Will you open the door? Yes, sure. I put down my bag of groceries and opened the door. Have you experienced this Jennifer Coolidge effect yourself? It's just the Coolidge effect, without Jennifer. And yes, I experienced it. We went up the stairs. Do you remember how I told you that I have a very low sex drive? Yes, that wasn't the case when Richard was dating Julia. Seeing him with another woman somehow made me want him even more. It was as if my brain was recharging sexual hormones simply from the sight of them together. Perhaps something similar is happening to you. So let's be clear. Richard not only dated his hot neighbor, but also had sex with you even more often. The guy is lucky. So you think I'm hot, huh? I don't really. She laughed as we turned into our hallway. It's okay, I'm just teasing you. I wouldn't expect you to flirt with an old lady like me. But yes, I did have sex with Richard more often when he was dating Julia. Moreover, I sometimes played with her fiancé Nathan. Like, partner exchange, it's a label that doesn't mean much to us. He liked to look at them, and I liked to do something. Damn, this is exciting. Yes, it was so. That's why I hope this experiment with Rachel and Richard works for both of us. She walked into her apartment and placed the groceries on the table by the door. I hope so too. And Stella? She turned to me standing in the doorway. Yes, Josh. Honestly, I don't consider you an old lady. I think you are a beautiful woman that anyone would be lucky to be with. She smiled softly at me. That's very flattering, Josh. And then she did something that took me by surprise. Stella kissed me. Not a light kiss on the lips, but a real, full-fledged kiss. The kind you give at the end of a first date. I found myself kissing her back. I dropped my grocery bag and pulled her closer. My hand began to explore her body while we kissed. Only when my hands began to climb under her shirt did she pull away from the kiss. Have a nice day, handsome. She winked at me as she closed the door. What the hell just happened? Was this trip to the farmer's market a date? Did she want me? Am I in a swap pair? In a state of daze, I entered my apartment. I almost dropped all my groceries again at what I saw. Richard was lounging on my sofa. Kneeling between his legs was the love of my life. Rachel was wearing one of my t-shirts, which was almost like a short dress to her. Underneath, she was without anything. Richard was completely naked. Oh, hi, Josh. How was your trip to the farmer's market? Okay. So you started early, huh? Hi, darling. Rachel jumped up and ran over to kiss me. Richard just stopped by for a little treat before breakfast. Poor guy, really. I see that he took advantage of our agreement. He is tireless. Come on, continue. I'll unload these products. I myself was surprised at my calmness. Great, she said, kissing me on the cheek and practically jumping back to Richard. My wife now has a boyfriend. They liked each other, they had common interests, and if I hadn't made rules about full sex, they would have had sex all over the apartment. I hope she truly enjoyed what she did and didn't feel like a tool for his gratification. This woman was the most important thing in the world to me, and any man who wants to be with her should treat her like a princess and not a bitch. Richard said, "Thanks for that, baby. If Josh is back, so is Stella. I'd better go and kiss my wife." Richard, wait. He stopped in place and looked at me. Do you like Rachel? What kind of question? Of course I like it. No, I mean, do you really like her? Or are you just using her for your sexual gratification? He thought about the question for a moment. Well, initially, of course, I was attracted by her beauty and body. But over time, it became something more. The time I spent with her was special to me. She challenges me intellectually, she's funny, and she has the fire that I love in a woman. He looked at Rachel, who was now visibly blushing. Rachel called you her boyfriend. Do you consider her your girlfriend? I suppose so. What we started is a relationship. Then why haven't you asked her out yet? Do you want me to ask your wife out on a date? No, I want you to ask your girlfriend out on a date. I want her to feel respected and cared for, not used and abandoned. I turned to Rachel. Did you enjoy the evening when you went to the jazz club with Richard? Yes, honey. Would you like to date him? Well, actually dating him. Yes, I think I would like to. So it's decided. Richard? Richard walked up to Rachel. Rachel, would you like to go out for drinks with me today? I'd love to, she said, kissing him on the lips. I'll see you at 7 in the evening. It's a date. She blushed and Richard left after kissing her again. I insisted on choosing her outfit for the evening myself. I didn't just want to send my wife on a date, I wanted to dress her up myself. I loved seeing Rachel in lace panties. If the evening took a sexual turn, I wanted Richard to see her the way I see her. I wanted him to take off her dress and find a hot surprise in the form of blue lace panties like a little bow on the gift I gave him. The dress I chose would look best without a bra. It was a gold, tight cocktail dress. Any other woman would be worried about her breasts sagging without a bra, but Rachel had the most beautiful breasts this side of the Mississippi. She was wrapped in a towel, having just gotten out of the shower. While she was putting on her makeup, I laid out her clothes for the evening. When she finished, I started dressing her. She put one leg on the bed, and I put her panties on her. She turned around to see how her butt looked in them. Do you think he'll like it? If you bring him home and he takes off your dress, he'll go crazy. These panties were my gift to her, with the hope that she would wear them for me. But now I was getting excited, imagining how in a few hours she would allow another man to take them off her. Everything that happened last night and this morning happened in my presence. The agony that I wouldn't be there, the fear that they might break my rules if I wasn't there, intensified my feelings of jealousy. And the weirdest thing was, it made me want Rachel even more. The Jennifer Coolidge effect. I held the dress and she stepped into it. I lifted the dress up her body and she threaded her arms through the straps. She put her hands to her chest and supported it. Isn't that too revealing? She was right to be worried. The front of the dress was so tight that there was a risk that she might accidentally show her breasts to the entire bar. This is moderately frank for a first date. She stepped forward and placed her hand on my chest. I'll send you messages, whenever I can. Fine. Don't worry about me, okay? I'll have a good time. I'm sure it will be so. And, can you do something for me? She asked, a little nervous. Yes, what is it, honey? Don't free yourself. I know you will be tempted, especially if I send you updates from my hot date. But don't do it, okay? I want to come home and take care of you. Baby, You will be tired after the evening. You shouldn't. I want to. No matter what happens tonight, I want to remember that I am your wife. I want to come home to you and take care of you. Rachel, please, okay? If you want. She brightened up when I said that and gave me a little kiss. Okay, I have to do my hair. If Richard comes, entertain him. I had just walked out into the living room when the doorbell rang. Richard, of course, looked impeccable. He stood in the doorway, wearing a dark blue shirt with the sleeves rolled up 3/4. I chuckled to myself because the shirt matched perfectly with the panties I had just put on my wife. The top 2 buttons of his shirt were undone, revealing his muscular chest. He was wearing black trousers that perfectly emphasized his figure. He was holding a bouquet of flowers in his hands. A true gentleman. When he smiled his movie star smile, I doubted my sexual orientation for the first time. I think I could understand what these women saw in him. Josh, he extended his hand. Richard, I shook his hand. His handshake was firm. Come in, please. Rachel will be out any minute. He sat on the sofa while I poured him a drink. Richard, I hope you understand that I love my wife very much. It's obvious. I'm glad your relationship with her is helping your marriage, but to me, she's more than just a tool. I would like you to treat her with respect. Yes, I have a very high sexual appetite, which my wife alone cannot satisfy. And yes, being with Rachel brings me sexual satisfaction. But she is more to me than just that. Is it true? Ever since we took you both under our wing, I've felt a special connection with her. We have similar interests, we laugh at the same jokes, she has the same drive, and I'm amazed by her intelligence. She matches my energy, which is rare. Understand. And Stella is okay with you having these feelings. For Rachel, I'm more than willing. Stella doesn't mind me sharing myself. Her only fear is that I will fall in love with a woman who will one day ask me to leave her. But Rachel poses the same threat, doesn't she? No, he doesn't, and there is an obvious reason for this. I was stunned. This girl is madly, deeply, and unconditionally in love with you. She can't live an hour without talking about you. That's nice to hear. I'm embarrassed to admit it, but this morning I asked her if I could have sex with her. What? Yes, I was overwhelmed with desire. And what did she say? She threatened to end our arrangement. She said she wanted me as much as I wanted her, but she would never break her husband's rules. I don't even know what to say. Rachel didn't tell me anything about this. On the other hand, I didn't tell her that I kissed Stella this morning. Part of me was proud of Rachel for not crossing the line, even if I cheated myself this morning. Another part of me began to imagine it. Josh? Huh? Are you okay, buddy? Yes, sorry, I was lost in thought. Thanks for telling me that. I want her, Josh, and I know that she wants me, but she loves you too much to let me have her. I opened my mouth to say something, but at that very moment the door to the bedroom opened. Richard's jaw dropped to the floor. The dress I chose for her looked incredible. Wow, he said. Hi, Richard, my usually confident wife said in an unusually shy tone. He approached her and kissed her. He ran his hand down her back, down to her ass. The kiss lingered for a few seconds as he squeezed her ass. Hello, honey. Are you ready for our date? He said finally. She took his hand and they walked towards the door, which I held open for them. What are your intentions with my girlfriend, young man? Richard threw his head back and burst into loud laughter. I'll get her back in a reasonable time, sir. Just trying to entertain her. Rachel kissed me. Thank you for doing this. I feel like I'm going to prom. I love you. I love you too, she said. They entered the corridor when I closed the door. I had been walking around the living room for a good 20 minutes when I felt my phone ring. I just got to the bar. I'm waiting for them to sit down. Unable to see them and relying only on her messages, I felt helpless. It was agony. I turned on the NBA game, but didn't register much. I just sat down. He found us a nice and secluded little booth. It's very dark. No one will see us here. Have fun, I answered her. I wasn't sure what else to say, but I felt like I had to say something. This evening, I heard the doorbell ring for the second time. Stella stood at my door, wearing a loose, low-cut top and holding a bottle of vintage red wine. Thought I'd stop by to see how you were doing with our spouses on your date. Yeah, of course. Come in. We sat down next to each other, and she poured us both some wine when I felt my phone ring again. Richard is such a stupid guy. He caresses my breasts in front of the waiter. Isn't that hot, honey? I quickly typed the answer. So hot, baby. Does she send you news? Stella said. How did you know? Who else are you going to text when your wife is on a date? Fair. Apparently Richard is playing with her breasts in front of the waiter. He loves doing it. I'm so turned on, Stella. I'm imagining them together and Rachel's messages aren't helping. What are we going to do, Stella? How will we get through this evening? I have some idea of what we could do. She pulled off her top and showed me her breasts. How about we continue that kiss from earlier? I kissed her hungrily, pulling her closer while continuing to massage her breasts. Over the past year, she has become like family to me. She cooked for me, took me to museums, and gave me her books. If Rachel and Richard found an intellectual match in each other, then I found mine in her. But it didn't seem right. It seemed taboo. I should stop. And yet I wanted her. And she was right. If Richard and Rachel can play, why not us? Listen, Stella, you are an incredible woman, and I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel anything. But Rachel is everything to me. I'm not going to ruin everything. Stella grinned and pulled her sweater back on. Fine. It was a test. Well, partly a test. I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy it. Test? What other test? I wanted to see if you are really a strong couple. And do you really care about each other? And you passed. Richard was right. You are the couple we were looking for. I don't want to get involved with a couple whose relationship is shaky. That's good to know. Wait, what do you mean kind of a test? Because I really want you. You are young, handsome, you understand me in a way that my husband does not understand. And from what Rachel says, you're a fire in bed. I want you too, but I can't do anything until I get the green light from Rachel. I know. If Rachel ever gives you permission to be with other women, I'll get in line with you. Okay? She came up to me and kissed me on the lips again. I kissed her back almost instinctively, but she pulled away after a few seconds. See you, handsome, she said with a wink and walked out into the corridor. I couldn't believe what was happening. This incredibly hot woman wanted to have sex with me, but I refused out of devotion to my wife, the same wife who is now on a date with this woman's husband. It was all crazy. I turned on the basketball game again. I hardly paid attention. I couldn't even tell who was playing. Even before she started dating him, she always gave in every time he persuaded her to have another drink. We always did what Richard wanted. She readily agreed to his suggestions about where to have dinner or what to do on the weekend. If Stella and I wanted to have a picnic in the park and Richard wanted to go to the beach, you can be sure which option Rachel would choose. Richard and Rachel, they have always been a team, and now he wanted her. How long will it be before he breaks it? I don't know what time it was when I finally fell asleep on the couch, but I remember the sound of the door opening. I wasn't fully awake yet, but I knew Rachel had returned home. Quiet, you'll wake him up, Rachel whispered. He sleeps like a log, don't worry, Richard said. I felt someone sit down on the sofa. I opened one eye slightly. On the edge of the sofa, at my feet, where Richard now sat, there was only enough room for one person. Come here, baby, sit on my lap, he whispered. He grabbed Rachel's wrist and deftly pulled her into his lap. She almost fell on him, but he caught her. I watched as he played with her hair, kissing her face as she blushed and giggled. I feel such a rush, Rachel said, like my crush asked me to the prom. I'm a little old for graduation, but I appreciate your feelings. Did you have a good time tonight? Yes, honey. She looked away from him. What's happened? I think I love you, Richard. My stomach turned over. I didn't dare open my eyes wider. I love you too, Rachel. He grabbed her chin and pulled her face towards his. Now they kissed like old lovers. My insides were churning as if I had been stabbed in the stomach. Is this what betrayal feels like? I felt tears begin to fill my eyes and closed them completely. I made a mistake. In trying to save our friends' marriages, did I ruin mine? Will I lose Rachel forever? The sounds of kissing continued for a few more seconds. Suddenly, the sounds of kissing stopped. They were replaced by the quiet, soft sobbing of Rachel. He will never understand. I may love you, but I can't live without Josh. He is everything to me, she said. Why won't he understand? It's one thing to share with me physically, but sharing my love, will he ever agree to this? People can often surprise us. I want you to know that I take Josh's veto very seriously. I will never cheat on him, and I will never leave him for you. He is the center of my world, Richard. This won't change. And I don't want that to change. I know that I had problems with Stella, but she occupies a part of my heart that I will never give to anyone else. Never. I want to spend my whole life making love to you, but she will always come first. The sounds of kissing began again. Rachel seemed to like what he said, but at that moment the feeling of betrayal was replaced by a feeling of guilt. I kissed Stella and played with her breasts on this very couch without Rachel's knowledge. Or Richard. And then she tells this man that I will always come first. I felt like the worst person in the world. Should I tell her about what happened between me and Stella? Will she accept the fact that I will share myself with another? We should go to the bedroom. I don't want to wake him, she whispered. I felt the weight on the other side of the couch disappear. I opened my eyes slightly and watched as Rachel led Richard by the hand into our bedroom. They tried to close the door, but did it in a hurry. There was a small gap left in the door. When I was sure they were gone, I jumped up from the couch and walked to the door. In the dim light of the bedroom, I saw them kissing and quickly taking off their clothes. Richard barely broke the kiss as he took off his shirt. I want you, Rachel. Richard, she warned him. Please. We can't, Richard. You know we can't. Josh has rules. He will agree sooner or later, you know that. He enjoys sharing his wife. It will happen sooner rather than later. Then we have to wait for that day. We can't. Please. Is this what you want? Want. Okay? Decide for yourself. Fine. Is this the moment when she finally moves beyond marriage? Damn, Rachel, now I want you even more. I know I want you too, Rachel breathed, but we can't. He will agree, I'm sure. Richard, I think you should leave. I'm too drunk not to make mistakes tonight. See you tomorrow morning. Fine, see you. When Richard started looking for his clothes, I hurriedly returned to the sofa and pretended to be asleep. The bedroom door opened, Rachel no doubt escorting him to the door. I heard the sounds of kissing again. I love you, and I love you. Rachel turned off the TV, and within seconds, I felt her hand on my face. Go to bed, honey. I pretended to slowly wake up. Rachel, I'm home, honey. Go to bed. I want you. She took me to the bedroom and started kissing me before I even lay down. Where are your clothes? Richard was here. We were fooling around before I sent him home. I felt excitement wash over me again, remembering what I had just seen. For what? Because I had to fulfill my marital responsibilities. When we finished our lovemaking session, she took a shower. Good night, dear. Good night, my love. And we fell asleep in each other's arms. I woke up to find Rachel gone. Rubbing my eyes, I left our bedroom. The living room was empty, but I heard faint sounds coming from the guest room. The door was not closed all the way, so I approached it. Rachel was leaning against the dresser, completely naked, leaning against the wall. They kissed passionately. Okay, but remember, just like last time. Just a little, she said, breaking their kiss. Right. The truth is that I, too, desired Richard's wife. And technically, I cheated on Rachel with Stella. but they confessed their love to each other while I lay there. This unnerved me the most. And yet, it was her betrayal, her secret meetings that made it all so exciting for me. It hurt me, and that added to the poignancy. They've gone too far. He stepped back an inch. No, I mean we can't do that at all. Stella and Josh trust us. And Josh has rules about this. He was faithful to me. I can't do things behind his back. Richard looked dejected. I guess you're right. I have to leave. Wait, I burst into the room. Josh, Rachel screamed, jumping from the dresser to her feet. Honey, I can explain. You don't need to. I saw everything. I was ashamed to admit that I had been spying on them, but now was the time to confess. I was standing in the doorway. My face was burning with embarrassment. I was caught red-handed, literally. Oh, Josh. Tears were now streaming down Rachel's face. I'm so sorry, Josh. I'm so sorry. You were such a faithful husband, and I. No, I wasn't faithful either. If I've already confessed, then it's better to confess everything. I kissed Stella a couple of times. Or rather, it was she who kissed me, and I kissed her back. And we fooled around a little last night while you two were on a date. What? Rachel looked like she had been slapped in the face. Sorry, Rachel. I don't deserve you. And I'm sorry, Richard. Stella didn't actually cheat on me. We have an understanding. I know she gets more horny when I have another partner, so we have a sort of understanding. I'm sure she'll find someone else, so let it be you. Well, so I'm the only cheater in our group. I officially suck. No. Rachel said, I'm a little shocked that you and Stella. I just need to get used to the idea. It's a little weird for me. But you, having selflessly allowed me to be with Richard, do not deserve me to blame you for this small offense. Rachel, I'm so sorry. You don't need to apologize. You didn't almost cheat on me, but I did. I'm acting like a stupid bitch who's too drunk with desire to think rationally. No, you're not acting like a bitch, and even if you were, there's nothing wrong with it. You're just trying to be close to the man you love. Did you hear that part? Yes, and I'm sorry that I ever placed any restrictions on both of you. You deserve everything you want. You are my princess, and you should have everything your heart desires. Rachel was too stunned to speak, but Richard said, Does that mean? Yes, get back on that dresser, Rachel. She obeyed. I reached out to shake his hand. Thanks for taking her out last night, and because you love her. He was stunned, but still shook my hand. Oh, of course, I really love her, you know, and she loves me. But you must know that for her, you will always come first, and Stella will always come first for me. Richard, what happened between me and Stella? Stella and I have known each other since childhood. We practically grew up together. We may form romantic and sexual attachments to other people from time to time, but nothing will shake our connection. Are you saying it's okay if I do what you want? If Rachel can be with me, Stella should have the right to be with you. Anyway, take care of her this morning. With these words, he took his clothes and left. I spent the rest of the morning and afternoon bombarding Rachel with love. I hugged her while she slept. I brought her a sandwich in bed, made her tea, and combed her hair while we watched romantic comedies. Part of the reason I did this was to make her feel loved after she had just gotten the sex of her life from another man. But it was also self-serving. I wanted her to be in a good mood when I talked to her about myself and Stella. How are you feeling, dear? I was delighted. God, Josh. You and Stella will have to make a schedule for when you can pick him up. By the way, you and Stella, right? Rachel, I should have told you. Yes, you should have. Honestly, I'm a little mad about this whole thing. Why couldn't you just tell me you were interested in her? I thought you wouldn't agree to this. I would have a hard time digesting that, that's for sure. But it makes sense. I'm dating her husband, so it would be natural for her to want my husband. And it's no wonder you like her. What? I don't like her like that. I just think she's hot. Rachel raised an eyebrow and smiled. Oh, really? Stella showed me new art. Stella took me to the farmer's market. Stella has recommendations for a new movie. Stella has such great taste in fashion. You talk about her like a child in love. It's so obvious. We have similar interests. That doesn't mean. How long has this been going on? Rachel interrupted me. What have you done with her already? She kissed me after the farmer's market, and she came over while you and Richard were on a date. We got to second base. Do you want to start a relationship with her? I do. Rachel bit her lip. Okay, here's the thing. In theory, I'm fine with that, but I'm afraid you'll like her more than I do. She's cooler, more experienced, and way hotter than me, and I laughed in her face when she said those last words. Do you think so? Rachel, dear, there is no woman alive who could hold a candle for you. Have you seen her breasts? I pulled her face towards mine. Rachel, I could search the ends of the earth and not find a woman who has had the same impact on me as you have. Even now, I feel butterflies in my stomach when I see you walk into a room. She was crying now. Oh, Josh, you really mean it, don't you? Yes, you are everything to me. She took a deep breath. Okay then, go and get it. What now? Yes, go away before I change my mind. You are the best wife in the world. I love you. I got out of bed and practically ran to the door. I love you too. Oh, Josh. Yes? Send Richard, okay? You got it, honey. I rushed down the hall with Stella and Richard's spare key and entered their apartment without warning. Stella was sitting on the sofa wearing a long floral cotton skirt. Richard knelt before her. They both jumped at the sound of the door opening. Josh, you scared us, she said. They both stood up. How are you? Richard asked me. Is everything okay? Richard, Rachel wants to see you. She's waiting for you in our bedroom, I said, heading towards Stella. I wrapped my arms around her waist and pulled her towards me for a kiss. After the initial shock, Stella kissed back. Okay then, don't mind me. Richard's gone, I heard Richard say as he walked away. She stopped kissing me and grabbed my wrist. Stella led me to their bedroom, but before she could get me to the bed, I turned her around and pressed her against the wall. We had a marathon of sex. I hugged Stella. My attempts to caress her breasts were not at all hidden. She pushed my hand away. Focus, young man. I've been wanting to show you this film for a long time. It's not my fault you have such amazing breasts. Watch this movie with me, and maybe I'll reward you with something more than just affection. Okay, but can we at least hold one of these while we watch? She allowed me to squeeze her breasts. We watched an art house film from the 1930s, which Stella insisted I watch. Now about the reward. Stella raised an eyebrow. I'm all yours, handsome. Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think click to the next one.